Todd, why I joined Toastmasters.
Thank you, Rich, Mr. Toastmaster. It's a pleasure to be with you guys this evening. So I've been invited to talk about my journey and my why I stay and why I got in. So in the winter of '96, I was with my girlfriend and we went to visit Ireland. And you know what happens at the end of December? You kind of make those New Year's resolutions when you go into January. So when we were in Ireland, we ended up going and kissing the Blarney Stone. For you who do not know what that is, there is a rock that is embedded in the battlement around the top of a castle. This rock has legendary properties that when you kiss it, you get the gift of eloquence. What they don't tell you is they hang you upside down by your feet. You have to pull up and kiss a rock. And when you go to the bar afterwards or the tavern, they tell you how the locals use it as their toilet. So anyways, when we got back to Montreal, we made the audacious endeavor that we would become better speakers. And in my home club of Dollar des Ormeaux, they had a Toastmaster club, which is now celebrating its 60th anniversary. But at the time, it was putting on a speechcraft course. So I decided I would join the Dollard Club. And my girlfriend at the time, she joined the Beaconsfield Toastmasters Club, which was actually a club that Dollard and Dorval were forming at that time. We got in, I did the speechcraft course, and about a year and a half in, I was invited to help put on a speechcraft course for the McGill University Toastmaster Club. It was for the MBA program, and because I had this young look that I still have, they asked me to be a speaker because I had more in relationship with the members or the people who were doing the course, as opposed to the salt and pepper mentors and specialists that were trying to put this course together. So we started the club, and the problem was every year the MBA program would graduate its people and we'd have to start all over again, starting to train new people into the club. So this happened for a couple of years, and then finally we changed the format a little bit, and the McGill Club has now been one of the biggest clubs in District 61 for the last 15 years. It's gotten so big that we had to split the club 3 times. It got to 80 members, and then they made an English club and a French club, and then they got another 60 members, and they had to break it again. So it's had 3 splinter kids, if you want to call it. You know, I got the bug of I want to help start clubs. So me and my girlfriend, we started another club called the Pure Phone Club. Then we started another club called the Single Out Club. Then we put on and ran the Spring Conference, which was an awesome experience because that's the first time that I really got to see people who had been international winners and rub shoulders. That's when I was actually what's called an aide de champ, which means I'm going to call it babysitter for Darren Lacroix. I met him. He was the international speaker in 2001. We had him in our district in 2003. So it was great to get a really seasoned mentor to look up to and aspire to and understand and sit and have dinner and pick him up at the airport and things like that. And then, you know, my mom would say, hey, why are you staying in Toastmasters? And at that time, I was working for the Royal Bank. And in 1 year, I had a $10,000 increase in my salary because I was shortlisted, because on my CV, it said, you know, president and founder of the McGill MBA Toastmaster Club. So they naturally assumed I must have an MBA because I was with that kind of a club. I let them believe whatever they want. So if it got me a promotion, it got me a promotion. And they said because I was able to evaluate, lead, and motivate teams, that's why I was shortlisted. So I attribute Toastmasters to that increase because of the skills that I learned and acquired while I was in the club, going through the little first steps, if you want to call it. And now, the reason I would say I stay with Toastmasters is because my job as a mentor now is to provide a mirror or a light for those who can't see the light yet. I want to be able to encourage others to get out from the shadow and into the light, because it's only when we get into the light that we shine. When we don't know what we don't know, we sometimes are scared and slink back, and I'm not too sure. But I always tell people, Toastmasters is a really safe environment where you can fall down and you don't have to worry about getting fired, because some mistakes you can make in the business world, they could be costly. If you want to try something and be audacious and extensive and things like that in this room, this is where you do it. You try crazy stuff and people will support you. They'll encourage you. They'll tell you, you know what, maybe this is not right for this audience, or maybe you should try going bigger or smaller or whatever it is. When you have more tools in your tool bag, you're able to build better and more creative speeches, more impactful, memorable speeches. You're able to become a better storyteller. You're able to bring things to life with quotes and analogies and metaphors. And you know what? Everybody's got a story inside of them. If you can find the story that best solidifies what you want to talk about, as Ray mentioned, you know, you find what could be a challenge and you become an advocate for that. I myself am a juvenile diabetic. So I've had the opportunity to encourage others to contribute and donate to that cause, because I've been able to move people with my speeches about how it has affected me, and how as a younger guy, I went to the camp, and I think the camp showed us that we are not alone. We are not the only ones suffering with it. Because sometimes when you have a big challenge when you're younger, you think, why me? And a more important question is, as Ray said, you know, it doesn't control me. I control it to an extent that I can, and I live my fullest life that I'm available or able to. And if you're able to show that to others, that's when you become an inspiration to others, because they look at you and go, hey, this guy had like a bad problem, but he's able to make it work even better. One of my inspirational speeches that I give is the hand you're dealt with. And I actually use a magic trick in which I tell people about, you know, don't you hate when this happens to you? Don't you hate when that happens to you? And I'm pulling out a series of cards going from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, most people who play poker want to go for the full house or the 4 of a kind. But if you know anything, all of the cards in the same family is what? It's a straight. You know, if you can get a royal flush, it's even better. But I mean, I say, hey, listen, take what you've been dealt and play the game. If you don't play the game, you take yourself out of the game. And Toastmasters gives you another set of skills that allows you to take your game to another level. And that's what I encourage in everybody when I see them. I'm like, my club. But if you can't be in my club because the day, the date, whatever, doesn't matter, you don't like me, whatever, I want you to get in so that you can get the benefits. I seen the light. I hope I can share the light. And that's where I think we don't try enough. I mean, in the older program called Legacy, you know, there was a certain different set of manuals. And I believe that now with pathways, we have 11 pathways presently that you can get into, and it can help develop skills that you don't have. I always encourage people to get a hold of the Competent Communicator and the Competent Leader books. Even though they're going to be phased out shortly, you can still get them as a PDF. There's some stuff in those manuals that you can't find in the pathways. And if you learn the basics, you can build a foundation that will allow you to step up to your greatness. And when you get to that level, that's where confidence comes from, competence, which comes from doing it. And if you don't do it, you won't get any of that. So I always say Toastmasters works when Toastmasters work. You come to this meeting. Why? You spend an hour and a half to 2 hours. I tell people, listen, you pay $100, $200, whatever your club charges as a membership. We often say, well, you can't get your money back. That's not exactly true. I know a lot of professional speakers who've said that if you do an honest effort with Toastmasters and don't get anything out of it, they'll pay your $100 back. But we can never give you your time back. If we waste your time in this room, shame on us. If you don't get anything out of this meeting, you didn't learn anything, you didn't say anything, that's because you haven't been involved. That's a shame on you. So if you want to get the most out of this program, step up, get involved, and then share, care, and pass it forward. The world is waiting for you and your message. Take what you learn in this room, take it to the big world outside, and that's where we're going to see change. And we have it within us to make that change, my fellow Toastmasters. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Enjoyed that. That's a message I feel like needs to be shared and shared and shared and shared.
You have tuned into and are viewing the District 96 Toastmasters YouTube channel. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel.